we're going to be taking a look at 7 principles of successful teams. It's a large lesson, so this video is actually going to be the first 4 lessons, as well as a summary of why they're there. So let's begin. We're going to be taking a look at work that's been done by Sean Achor, who wrote The Happiness Advantage with 7 principles that fuel success and performance at work. So at the end of this semester, we're actually looking at the super high performance that really gets the teams being special and over and above the competition. So here are 5 big ideas that I would like to start us off with. The first one is this is all about getting people in a really good mood, a really good space, so that they are loving work, that it's a passion, it's a calling, and they work harder without you having to punish them or tell them to work harder or work faster. They're self-motivated because they love what they do. And your job is to help them figure out how to love that job. So the 5 big ideas is that happiness is actually not a mood, it's a work ethic. It's the way we show up at work. We can use our brain to process how we view the world, and that in turn changes how we react to the world. If we're constantly scanning the world for something positive, that's going to allow us to experience happiness, gratitude, and optimism. If we think the world's a good place, we're always going to be finding opportunity. When we reframe failure as an opportunity for growth, we're more likely to experience that growth. The most successful people in work and in life believe that their actions have a direct effect on their outcomes. So we're looking for optimists in the workplace. We're not looking for pessimists. And it's your job to change people, and they can change. The 7 principal teams, if you work hard, you'll become successful, and once you become successful, then you'll be happy. That's what we used to think, and that's an old model. It may have worked for some, but there's a better model out there. Also, if we study merely what is average, we will remain merely average. And a lot of people study the average person, the average result. We want the super people. We want the people at the top, and that's what we're studying. If all you strive for is diminishing the bad, like pointing out what people are doing bad and having them stop that, you're only going to attain the average, and you're going to miss out entirely on the opportunity to exceed the average. So this isn't about punishing people or trying to have them stop doing bad habits. This is doing the complete opposite, trying to get them to perform great habits. More principles. Countless studies have found that social relationships are the best guarantee of heightened well-being and lowered stress, both an antidote for depression and a prescription for high performance. Very important that everyone at work likes each other and gets along. We become more successful when we're happier and more positive. Again, it's your job to make sure that we have a good, positive working environment. It turns out that our brains are literally hardwired to perform at their best, not when they're negative or even neutral, but when they're positive. And because positive brains have a biological advantage over brains that are neutral or negative, we teach how to retrain our brains to capitalize on positivity and improve our productivity and performance. How we experience the world and our ability to succeed in it constantly changes based on our mindset. The fulcrum and lever, which I'll be teaching you about, helps us adjust our mindset or our fulcrum in a way that gives us the power, the lever, to be more fulfilled and successful. Don't worry, I'll be explaining what those mean in a few more slides. When our brains do get stuck in a pattern that focuses on stress, negativity, and failure, we do set ourselves up to fail. The Tetris Effect, I'll be sharing with you what that is, teaches us how to retrain our brains to spot patterns of possibility so that we can see and seize opportunity wherever we look. And in the midst of defeat, stress, and crisis, our brains map different paths to help us cope. Falling up is about finding the mental path that not only leads us up out of failure, but teaches us to be happier and more successful because of it. So bad news and adversity isn't that bad. We just look for the way out. When challenges loom and we do get overwhelmed, our rational brains can be hijacked by emotions. And the Zorro Circle, which I'll be sharing with you, teaches us how to regain control by focusing first on small, manageable goals, and then gradually expanding our circle to achieve bigger and bigger goals. So we just do the small things we can in the beginning. That gives us confidence to do the bigger things later. And sustaining lasting change only feels impossible because our willpower is limited. A lot of people don't realize that. Humans only have so much willpower, and we don't have that much. And when willpower fails, we fall back on our old habits and succumb to the path of least resistance. Willpower is strong in the morning. By evening, it's pretty much gone, which is why we tend to eat or drink or smoke at the end of the night when we don't want to, but we don't have any willpower because you used it up in the morning. The 20-second rule shows how by making small energy adjustments, we can reroute the path of least resistance and replace bad habits with good ones. And in the midst of challenges and stress, some people choose to hunker down and retreat within themselves, but the most successful people invest in their friends and peers and family members to propel themselves forward. Social investment teaches us how to invest more in one of the great predictors of success and excellence, our social support network. So having that team liking and loving us is very important. It's your job to make sure everyone likes and loves each other. Happiness is not the belief that we don't need to change, it's the realization that we can. So let's look at the first principle, the happiness advantage. Martin Seligman is the pioneer in positive psychology at University of Pennsylvania. He's broken happiness down into 5 measurable components: positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment. And instead of narrowing our actions down to fight or flight as negative emotions do, positive ones broaden the amount of possibilities we process, making us more thoughtful, creative, and open to new ideas. Now, positive emotions actually flood our brains with dopamine and serotonin. These are chemicals that not only make us feel good, but dial up the learning centers of our brain to higher levels. They help us organize new information, they keep that information in the brain longer, and we can retrieve it faster later on, and they enable us to make and sustain more neural connections within the brain, and that allows us to think more quickly and creatively and to become more skilled at complex analysis and problem solving and see and invent new ways of doing things. Now, people who put their heads down and wait for work to bring eventual happiness put themselves at a huge disadvantage, while those who capitalize on positivity every chance they get come out ahead. Now, even the smallest shots of positivity can give someone a competitive advantage. And again, happiness is not a mood, it's a work ethic. If a manager in the organization is not positive and they're very negative, they're going to be spreading that to the workers and they're not going to have high performance. So your managers, which is you, have to learn this, do it for yourself, and then teach it to others. Then you can have that high performance. So the change begins with you, and then you can teach it to the team. Here are a few things that you can specifically do to raise mood and raise happiness throughout the day. There's meditation, which has been around for thousands of years. And neuroscientists have found that monks and long-term meditators who spend years meditating actually grow their left prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain most responsible for feeling happy. And studies show that in the minutes right after meditating, we experience feelings of calm and contentment, as well as heightened awareness and empathy. And research even shows that regular meditation can permanently rewire the brain to raise levels of happiness, lower stress, improve mood function and immune function, and lower pain. Here are some things to look forward to. One study found people who just thought about watching their favorite movie raised their endorphin levels by 27%. So the brain is very powerful. Also, anticipating future rewards can actually light up the pleasure centers in the brain as much as the reward itself. So again, the brain is a source of a great mood. So it's a good idea to be thinking about past things that made you feel good. Number 3, to increase your own happiness, is committing conscious acts of kindness. This is something that you can do as a team as well. There's a long line of empirical research, including one study of over 2,000 people, that showed that altruism, giving to friends and strangers alike, decreases stress, strongly contributes to enhanced mental health. So you and the team can pick a day, a week, and make a point of committing 5 acts of kindness. You also, for number 4, can infuse positivity into your surroundings. Our physical environment can have an enormous impact on our mindset and sense of well-being, and studies have shown that the less negative TV we watch, specifically violent media, the happier we are. And 5th, a lot of us have already heard this already, exercise. But do we do it? Physical activity can boost the mood and enhance our work performance in a number of other ways as well. Improves motivation, feelings of mastery, reduces stress and anxiety, and helps us get into flow, that locked in feeling of total engagement that we usually get when we're at our most productive. Number 6 is spending money. Yes, this finally, money makes you happy, but not on yourself and not on material possessions. So while those positive feelings we get from material objects like the Lamborghini or the Rolex are frustratingly fleeting, like it makes you happy for a few days and then it kind of wears off, well, actually spending money on experiences, especially ones with other people, produces positive emotions that are both meaningful and more lasting. So think about that. Going out to dinner or vacation with friends and family is going to be better than buying yourself a nice watch. You can have both if you want, but pay attention to what actually gives you more meaning. And by the way, during those experiences, take pictures because you get to look back at those and relive that same great feeling. Spending money on other people is called pro-social spending. It also boosts happiness. You can also draw, or this is something you can do for the team, draw 2 columns on a piece of paper and take 10 minutes at work to create a little spreadsheet. You can track your purchases over the next month. Are you spending more on things or experiences? And at the end of the month, look back over each column and think about the pleasure that each purchase brought you and for how long. You may find that the experiences of going on vacation or having a dinner or going to the movies with people was actually more fun. Number 7 is exercising a signature strength. So each time we use a skill, whatever it is, we experience a burst of positivity. And if you find yourself in need of a happiness booster, revisit a talent you haven't used in a while. So even more fulfilling than using a skill, though, is exercising a strength of character, a trait that's deeply embedded in who we are. And we learned about that in viastrengths.org in previous lessons. Now, studies have shown that the more you use your signature strength in daily life, the happier you will become. Principle 2 is called the fulcrum and the lever, which we had mentioned earlier. Now, while we of course cannot change the reality through sheer force of will alone, we can use our brain to change how we process the world, and that in turn changes how we react to it. So we can't change the weather when it's raining, but we could change how we feel about rain. Now, happiness is not about lying to ourselves or turning a blind eye to the negative, but it's about adjusting our brain so that we see the ways to rise above our circumstances. Our power to maximize our potentials based on 2 important things: the length of our lever, which is how much potential and possibility we believe we have, and 2, the position of our fulcrum, which is the mindset with which we generate the power to change. So by changing the fulcrum of our mindset and lengthening the lever of our possibility, we change what's possible. So we basically say that we have power and we can look at things differently. That's the fulcrum and the lever. And it's not the weight of the world that determines what we accomplish, it's really the fulcrum and the lever. Now, reality is merely our brain's relative understanding of the world based on where and how we're observing it. So how exactly is it that our relative perception of what is happening or what we think will happen can actually affect what does happen? Our answer is that the brain is organized to act on what we predict will happen next, something that psychologists are calling expectancy theory. The expectation of an event causes the same complex set of neurons to fire in the brain as though the event were actually taking place. This triggers a cascade of events in the nervous system that leads to a whole host of real physical consequences. So for Olympiads, they actually have them visualize winning a race, and their muscles actually fire. The same muscles that they would use in the race actually move during the visualization. So we're basically doing what Olympic athletes are doing. When we reconnect ourselves with the pleasure of the means, as opposed to only focusing on the ends, we can adopt a mindset that's more conducive not only to enjoyment, but to better results. Now, when we are faced with a difficult task or challenge, you can give yourself an immediate competitive advantage by focusing on all the reasons that you will succeed. Succeed, the reasons why you'll succeed, not fail. And remind yourself of the relevant skills you have rather than those you lack. So think of a time you've been in a similar circumstance in the past and performed well. So think about, challenge comes, list out all the reasons why you're going to do well. When's the last time you did that? When we believe that there will be a positive payout for our effort, we will work harder instead of succumbing to the helplessness. And by changing the way we perceive ourselves in our work, we can actually dramatically improve our results. Now, after many years and hundreds of interviews with workers in every conceivable profession, Amy Wrzesniewski has found that employees have one of three work orientations or mindsets about the work. We can view our work as a job, as a career, or a calling. Now, people with a job see work as a chore, their paycheck is the reward, they work because they have to, and they're constantly looking forward to the time they can spend away from their job. So this could be like cashiers, and you ask them, how's your day going? Oh, I can't wait till Friday. Then you know they don't really like their job because they want to get out of there. By contrast, people who view their work as a career will not only work out of necessity, but also to advance and succeed. And they're invested in their work and they do want to do well. But there's the people who have a calling. They view their work as an end in itself. Their work is fulfilling, not because of external rewards, but because they feel it contributes to the greater good, draws on their personal strengths, and gives them meaning and purpose. I'm a teacher. This is my calling. I love doing this. And I do it, it's not for the money, it's because I love the opportunity and the people that I meet, and I also learn as well. Now, people with a calling orientation not only find their work more rewarding, but work harder and longer because of it. And as a result, these are the people who generally are more likely to get ahead. Now, Wrzesniewski's most interesting finding is not that people who see their work in one of these three ways, but that it fundamentally doesn't matter what type of job one has. So it doesn't matter if you're a janitor or you own the company. It doesn't matter. A calling orientation can have just as much to do with the mindset as it does with the actual work being done. Now, unhappy employees can find ways to improve their work life that does not involve quitting, changing their jobs or careers, or going out to find themselves. Organizational psychologists are calling this job crafting. And in essence, it is requiring people to simply adjust their mindset. So if you have people that don't feel that their job is a calling, you can do job crafting where you ask them to look at it a different way. So if you can't make actual changes to your daily work, ask yourself what potential meaning and pleasure already exist in what you do. And researchers have found that even the smallest task can be imbued with greater meaning when they are connected to personal goals and values. So trying to do job crafting can be really helpful. Now, an exercise would be to turn a piece of paper horizontally, and on the left, write down a task you are forced to perform at work that feels like there's no meaning to it. Then ask yourself, what is the purpose of this task? What will it accomplish? And then draw an arrow to the right and write that answer down. If what you wrote still seems unimportant, ask yourself again, what will the result lead to? Draw another arrow and write this down. Keep going until you get to a result that is meaningful to you. And in this way, you can connect every small thing you do to a larger picture, to a goal that keeps you motivated and energized. So even the dishwasher in the cafeteria may say, oh, I hate doing the dishes. But when you do this exercise, you see, I'm keeping the place healthy. I'm keeping the workers in a good frame of mind. I'm allowing the company to run because I'm feeding people, and people need to be fed. And if they aren't fed, they won't live. I'm keeping everyone alive. So now you're a lifesaver. So it gets pretty quick with a dishwasher that you're really important. Now, you can have the best job in the world, but if you cannot find meaning in it, you won't enjoy it. Whether you're a movie maker or a movie star, doesn't matter. You need meaning. Now, what we expect from people and from ourselves manifests itself in the words that we use. And those words can have a powerful effect on the end results. And that phenomenon is called the Pygmalion Effect. And when our belief in another person's potential brings us to that potential to life. So when we believe in someone, when they don't believe in themselves, our belief in them can help them actually achieve it. So for example, the expectations we have about our children, co-workers, and spouses, whether or not they're ever voiced, can make that expectation a reality. So if you believe in your people, you can actually help them make a goal. Now, people act as we expect them to act, which means that a leader's expectations about what he thinks will motivate his employees often end up coming true. So you can ask yourself every Monday these three questions. Do I believe that the intelligence and skills of my employees are not fixed but can be improved with effort? Do I believe that my employees want to make that effort just as they want to find meaning and fulfillment in their jobs? And how am I conveying these beliefs in my daily words and actions? You have an important role. You're the person that can make this company really succeed. Now, principle number 3 is the Tetris Effect, and we're constantly scanning the world for negative outcomes with a great cost. This undercuts our creativity, raises our stress level, lowers our motivation and ability to accomplish goals. And we have what we call inattentional blindness. It's our frequent inability to see that what is often right in front of us, well, we're not seeing it because we're not focusing on it. So you can have a beautiful car go by, but you're not focused on a car and you don't even see the car. So we tend not to miss what we're not looking for, and that means that we're missing opportunity. When our brains are constantly scanning for focus on the positive, we profit from 3 of the most important tools available to us: happiness, gratitude, and optimism. So look for the positive, it's there. Psychologists are calling this predictive encoding. So priming yourself to expect a favorable outcome actually encodes your brain to recognize the outcome when it does in fact arise. And the best way to kickstart this is to start making a daily list of the good things in your job, your career, and your life. These are things that you can actually do with your team. So after this video, you can rewind the video and actually do this. Now, when you write down a list of 3 good things that happened that day, your brain's going to be forced to scan the last 24 hours for potential positives, things that brought small or large laughs, feelings of accomplishment at work, strengthened connection with family, glimmer of hope for the future. And we're going to close out tonight's lesson with you setting a timer for 20 minutes with a piece of paper. You're probably going to fill up the front and back of this. So set the timer for 20 minutes and just write until the timer runs out. So write about 1 positive experience that you had in the last year and how that made you feel. 1 positive experience you had in the last month and how that made you feel. 1 positive experience you had in the last week and how that made you feel. 1 positive experience in the last day and how that made you feel. And then 1 positive experience you had in the last hour and how that made you feel. And in all 5 of these, when you write about the positive experience and how it made you feel, also include why. What strength were you using that helped that positive experience come about? Now, these positive experiences do not have to be big events. It could be something as small as the elevator came. I didn't have to wait that long. So we're not looking for huge things. If it's something that happened in the last year, go for something really big. Last month could be pretty big, but something in the last hour could be a friend called me, or I got a really cool text message, or someone sent me a WeChat message and I laughed. So it doesn't have to be huge, but we do want to put you into the mindset of thinking positively. And I'll see you at the next lesson.